Welcome back to Creepaholics. I'm your host Shanice, and today we'll explore the tragic stories of four women who disappeared in the 1980s. Their cases connected by the horrifying actions of serial killer Gary Allen Surrey. These stories are not just about their disappearances, but about the families left behind, the investigations that followed, and the quest for justice. So grab those flashlights, lock those doors tight, and let's creep on down the dark and airy trail together. Melissa Rehorek was born into a loving family in Toronto, known for her vibrant spirit and dreams for the future. On September 23, 1985, she left home but never returned. Days passed without a word, and concern grew among her family and friends. They knew something was wrong when phone calls went unanswered and her usual routines were disrupted. Desperate for answers, her family reported her missing, igniting a search that would reveal a chilling pattern. Next was Barbara Jean McLean, a young girl full of hope. Barbara Jean McLean was only 19 years old, a daughter of, you could easily say, the most prominent family in Inverness. Her father was chief of staff at the Inverness Hospital, Dr. Jean McLean, a former member of the Nova Scotia Legislative Assembly. On August 9, 1986, she was last seen leaving a friend's house, but when she failed to arrive for work the next day, alarm bells rang. Her family's fear turned into panic as they reported her disappearance. The police began their search, but as weeks passed, frustration grew. There were no leads, no answers, just silence. Eva Violet Dvorak was ambitious and bright, dreaming of a future filled with possibilities. But on March 6, 1987, her dreams came to a halt when she vanished from a bus stop in Hamilton. Her friends and family were frantic, and they quickly contacted the police when she didn't arrive at her destination. With each passing day, the urgency of finding her intensifies, but still there was no sign of Eva. Then there was Patricia Marie McQueen, an artistic soul beloved by those around her. On April 15, 1987, she left home to meet friends and never came back. When she failed to return the next day, panic set in amongst her friends. They contacted the authorities, hoping to spark a swift investigation as the search began. The pain and fear rippled through the community. As the investigation unfolded, police stated that they started connecting the dots between the four cases. The similarities were impossible to ignore. All four women, each disappearing under mysterious circumstances, and their families left in a state of agony. Authorities began to recognize a disturbing pattern. It was clear that something darker was at play. Community members rallied around the families, demanding justice and answers. Vigils were held and flyers were distributed, keeping the missing women's stories alive in the public's conscience. The task force established to investigate these disappearances, review case files, interview witnesses, and examine the backgrounds of known offenders in the area. Eventually, their attention turned to Gary Allen Surrey. With a history of violent offenses, he emerged as a prime suspect. His name was connected to the investigation after a witness reportedly seeing him near the locations where the women vanished. On May 14, 1988, police arrested Gary Allen Surrey during a routine traffic stop. Officers found evidence in his vehicle that linked him directly to the disappearances, including items belonging to the missing women. The pivotal moment marking a turning point in the investigation. As authorities dug deeper into his background, they discovered a pattern of violent behavior that aligned with the timeline of the disappearances. During the trial, overwhelming evidence, including DNA recovered from crime scenes, would ultimately seal his fate. The trial that followed in 1990 was grappling, filled with heart-wrenching testimonies and overwhelming evidence. The families watched the pieces come together, each revelation a reminder of their loss. Ultimately, Gary Allen Surrey was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole for 25 years. He was incarcerated at a maximum security facility where the reality of his crimes began to weigh heavily on him. Reports from within the prison system indicated that Surrey struggled with the consequences of his actions. He attempted to maintain a low profile, but the notoriety of his case made it difficult. In a tragic turn, he faced violent encounters with other inmates just a few years into his sentence. He was involved in an altercation that resulted in serious injuries. There were rumors of attempts on his life by other inmates, reflecting the deep anger surrounding the crimes. Ultimately, Surrey did not survive his sentence. He was found dead in his cell under suspicious circumstances in 1995. While the official cause was ruled as a result of injuries sustained during an attack, some speculate that the weight of his actions led to his demise within the prison system. The stories of Melissa, Barbara, Eva, and Patricia remind us of the urgency of addressing missing person cases and the importance of community support in the times of crisis. Their families continue to fight for justice and awareness, advocating for better protections for women and the recognition of the unique challenges faced by Indigenous women and other women in these situations. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help us keep it going, consider supporting us for just 99 cents or $4.99 a month. Your contributions help